In 1844, a schism in the United States began to manifest as opposition to the largely Southern practice of slavery grew in the North. With the practice deeply ingrained in the Southern plantation system and in the national economy as a whole, all regions reaped the benefits of the labor practice. However, while many continued to support slavery, a moral awakening engendered unrest, specifically in the North. As political turmoil heated up, the country polarized politically over the issue of slavery. Many Northerners bonded together under the Free Soil movement, which was less concerned with the existing bondage of slaves and more concerned with prohibiting the extension of slavery into the uncharted territory of the West. Abolition, the idea that all slaves should be freed, also slowly emerged in the North as a more radical idea. In Massachusetts, abolitionist sentiments began circulating throughout the state through political newspapers, influential speakers, and through events such as abolitionist picnics. On August 2, 1844, one day after the 10th anniversary of the abolition of slavery in the British West Indies, Hingham, Massachusetts hosted what was recorded as the largest anti-slavery picnic in America. Hingham's abolitionist tendencies began early on in the movement as the town's anti-slavery society formed in 1835, and in 1841 the town submitted a formal request to their district's representative in the House, John Quincy Adams. They pleaded to be released from all obligation to contribute in any way to the support of slavery. On an individual level, community members such as Sidney Howard Gay protected slaves on their journey north as part of the Underground Railroad. Abolition rapidly gained ground in Hingham but still had opponents within the community. Published in the Hingham Patriot in 1843, Negro slavery indeed might receive a death blow, but so also would the regulated liberty of our own race and all the cherished hopes that cluster around the temple erected by the hands of our revolutionary fathers. With the majority of abolitionists, Hingham residents secured the power to act on their radical beliefs while also gaining exposure to the opposite opinion. As Emancipation Day, celebrating the freedom of West Indian slaves, approached, residents of Hingham proposed for a celebration, and advertisements in the locally based Hingham Patriot, as well as the Boston-based Liberator, immediately commenced. In 1844, when the abolition of slavery was a radical idea held by only a small minority of Americans, the people of the South Shore of Massachusetts took a stand against the institution as they assembled at Tranquility Grove in Hingham to gather anti-slavery sentiments, unify as a group, and celebrate the emancipation of slavery in the West Indies in hopes of emancipating the slaves in the United States. On August 2nd, after being delayed a day due to weather, an estimated 6,000 to 10,000 people from the surrounding Norfolk, Plymouth, Essex, Suffolk, and Middlesex counties flooded into Hingham, arriving by steamboat, carriage, or on foot. Reporting on the event afterwards, the Liberator claimed, "One town alone is said to have filled 80 vehicles and another 60 with delegates." As they arrived, the crowds of people assembled in Fountain Square. From there, the group marched along North Street, South Street, and Main Street to the Grove in a grand procession, following women dressed in white carrying wreaths of oak leaves, with each town carrying their unique anti-slavery banners. People from a wide geographical area melded under a common tradition and a shared ideology. Finally arriving at the main event, the thousands flooded into the Grove, which was decorated with Hingham's own anti-slavery banners and filled with long tables of food.
They proceeded to attack the tables that were full of food, and as we understand it, it was quite a lively repast, and some people came just for the food.
I am an abolitionist, I glory in the name, though now by slavery's minions hissed and covered o'er with shame.
The chief marshal of the day, Jarvis Lincoln, largely organized the event and assembled a hymn book with a preface that proclaimed, "This little book is intended, in some measure, to advance the cause of emancipation, and to urge those who have engaged in the cause to go forward with renewed zeal in accomplishing the work of their holy mission." With the purpose of the event clearly stated to everyone in attendance, the festivities commenced. Music proved extremely influential in not only the mood of the day, but also the abolitionist movement as a whole. Jarvis Lincoln eloquently explained, "There are many who have not the gift of speech-making, but who can, by song-singing, make strong appeals in behalf of the slave to every community and to every heart." Song bonded the people at the event under a single melody and, set to well-known tunes, made the ideas of abolition more accessible to the general public. A main feature of the event was the popular singing group, the Hutchinson Family Singers.
They would be like the protest singers of their day, like Peter, Paul, and Mary, or Pete Seeger, or Bob Dylan, Joan Baez. it was like Hillary Clinton bringing Bruce Springsteen to an event. That someone will come to see her, but a lot might come to see Bruce Springsteen too.
Incorporating popular culture, specifically through song, the event drew in new people, transforming hesitant bystanders into active members of the abolitionist movement. In addition to music, people centered their attention on prominent speakers who energized the crowds and further charged the anti-slavery sentiment. William Lloyd Garrison, the president of the event and a very active abolitionist, moderated the stage as a constant presence throughout the day. To begin the picnic, Reverend Oliver Stearns from Hingham's Old North Church, which accepted all races into their congregation, read a prayer. Immediately following him, letters from John Quincy Adams and Charles Francis Adams were read, explaining their absence and offering support for the event. The former president passionately wrote, "The manacle and the fetter shall drop from every limb, that the ties of nature shall no longer be outraged by man's inhumanity to man, that the self-evident truths of our Declaration of Independence shall no longer be idle mockeries belied by the transcendent power of slavery welded into our Constitution." The event prompted the creation of abolitionist literature not only in the speeches that were written, but also hymns and poems. John Pierpont, a poet, writer, and theologist, recited some of his works at the event. "We ask not eye for eye, that all who forge the chain and ply the whip should feel their torture. We only ask, O God, that they who bind a brother may relent." Following Pierpont, Frederick Douglass took the stage. Early in his career, as his autobiography would come out a year later, this appearance was a stepping stone for him. Although no written copy of his speech exists, speaking of the holiday years later, he addresses Emancipation Day. But on the memorable morning which we are met to celebrate, one bolt from the moral sky of Britain left these blood-stained irons all scattered and broken throughout the West Indies, and the limbs they had bruised, outstretched in praise and thanksgiving to God for deliverance. No man of any sensibility can read the account of that great transaction without emotions too great for utterance. As a runaway slave, the speech of Frederick Douglass was a unique perspective among the sea of white abolitionists, and put a face to what they were working for. Filling the evening were numerous other speeches by famous abolitionists such as Edmund Quincy, James Freeman Clarke, William Abijah White, and the ministers from many churches around Hingham. The well-known and well-spoken orators gave the event importance and verbalized the emotions and opinions of many of the people there, making them feel more connected under a soul state of mind. In the wake of the massive event at Tranquility Grove, the Thaxters, who offered their private land to host the celebration, vowed to never host another public event as the property was nearly destroyed. But despite the damage, the event had important short and long-term repercussions. The celebration invigorated the anti-slavery feelings of the people living in the area. It not only united the group of abolitionists on the day, but would be a time to recall and reminisce over for years to come. The connection established between people proved important in future years of fighting for the cause. The event also succeeded in further incorporating the churches of the area into the movement, as religion was a major part of all townspeople's lives. The church's involvement urged abolition throughout the whole community, as even non-abolitionists needed to attend church every week. The influx of literature prompted by the event added to the flow of abolitionist culture in the North. Written by famous abolitionists to familiar tunes, the songs originally written for the picnic celebration were later featured at numerous other abolitionist gatherings. Jarvis Lincoln's songbook featured specifically popular abolitionist hymns. Although they did not know it then, in 1844, the abolitionists of the North faced years of struggle before Abraham Lincoln's Emancipation Proclamation in 1863. At a time when the idea of slavery was still widely accepted through all of the South and parts of the North, the people of southeastern Massachusetts took a stand by organizing an anti-slavery picnic that turned into the biggest anti-slavery picnic ever held. In that week's newspaper, the Liberator of Boston reported, "The day will not soon be forgotten by those who participated in the festival, or by the people of the town where it was celebrated." As the struggle between North and South escalated and eventually exploded into the Civil War and the carnage of battle replaced the memory of the peaceful event years before, the Grove fell into obscurity. Now referred to as Burns Memorial Park after the patron who donated the land to the town in the 20th century, the location is widely overgrown and very few people recall the name Tranquility Grove when thinking about the small town of Hingham. However, the town's Historic Commission is currently striving to reinvigorate public knowledge and access to the land where the soil retains the significance of the bellwether event.
Huzzah, huzzah! Huzzah, huzzah! Emancipation, soon we'll bless our happy nation.